Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Beatles Forever. Today we will go over the highlights of the third and final part of the Get Back documentary. It's been so wonderful to see all this Beatle footage, and I look forward to when they will have it on DVD and Blu-ray. Now, on with the show. I love how Ringo starts the documentary with the beginnings of his song, Octopus's Garden. And George is such a great friend, he immediately paid attention to Ringo and went over to help him complete the song. And what a great song it is. It's so catchy, and it's such a nice song to think that there's a place you can go to escape the pressures of life at times, even in an octopus's garden. And John comes in, and he gets on the drums, and I never saw him play that before, so that was neat to see that. Next, Heather enters. I'm not sure having a child in the studio was a great idea. I love kids, but they could be distracting. And that was especially true during this time when the Beatles were having limited time and getting all the stuff done that they wanted to do. John, he teases her about eating cats, and because she was talking about her cat having kittens, and then Heather takes it in her stride saying, "You can't eat cats." And then Heather did some great cymbal hitting with Ringo, and Paul never realized that she was playing instead of Ringo. In fact, Paul said, you need to tone down the cymbals when you're playing and do like, and Ringo never said anything. He just had a no expression on his face. And then when Yoko starts howling out something, Heather's face is priceless. She looks like she is in pain, thinking, what is that noise? Later, she does her Yoko impression and does it pretty well. And then later in the day, Paul tells her she's going to go back in her box. So that was time for them to go home. Next up, Blue Suede Shoes. The Beatles come alive when John starts singing this song. George is smiling as well as Billy and Paul. And next they go into Shake, Rattle, and Roll. They love jamming to these great tunes, and it probably gets them more into the groove for what they need to do next. And the song that they came up with next is The Long and Winding Road. The Beatles have part of this song worked out. Now they keep playing it to get the rest of the lyrics and the music worked out to it. Ringo decides to take a nap because it doesn't really need his help. I like how George Martin just blends in and doesn't try to boss. He listens and then puts his input in. He laughs more than one would imagine he would. Pictures of him always showed him more serious looking. No wonder the band loved working with him. The Beatles are enjoying the sound of the song and just keep playing it. Finally, Glenn, the producer, asks if they want to tape the song, and Paul says yes, and that's the song that ends up on the album. So that was another song they got down. And George is on a roll, songwriting-wise. George seems to be writing a bunch of songs during this documentary. He comes into the studio happy with himself because he came up with a rocker last night, he said. He states he didn't get to bed until very late that night. He was working on a song. He told John he kept hearing John's voice and said from about 10 years ago, finish them straight away. As soon as you start them, finish them. And then John said, I never do that, though. I can't do it, but I know it's for the best. I guess it is do as I say, not as I do. George comes up with the old brown shoe, and then Paul comes over to George, and he likes what he's hearing. And George is playing it out on the piano. I love seeing George play an instrument that I've never seen him play before. And then Paul goes on the drums and helps nail the beat. And George really starts finding his groove, and it's neat to see the writing and performing process there, too. Later, Paul gets on a regular guitar, and Billy Preston's on playing guitar, too, and Ringo's drumming, and they really have a jam session going on. The next song they try to accomplish is Don't Let Me Down and Get Back. Paul and John start working on the song again, and Billy is playing a wonderful piano accompaniment. Paul and the gang are trying to get the kinks out of the song. John is enjoying the process. You could tell he's in his element with his band all jamming together. And Paul isn't satisfied with doing things on take one. It seems like he likes a lot of options, and they keep on redoing things over and over again. Finally, they get a recorded version of Get Back that will be used on the Let It Be album. So they're really starting to knock them down now. Later, they try to figure out songs that are not complete. So the first one up is Something. George goes through his song. He has different lyrics, starting for being late for the show. Later, it's lyrics we all know, Something in the Way She Moves. John is working with George, playing along with him, and Ringo gets the sound right on his drums. And next up is their planning for the rooftop. This seems to be the most uncertain part of what the Beatles are going to do. They can't seem to figure out how many songs they'll do, whether it'll be all 14 songs or just certain songs. And Paul gets together with John and says we should just play one song after another the day before the show, and George Martin likes the idea. John said he thought that was what they were always going to do. It seems like Paul may overthink things at times, but you can't blame him, though. You have to have a plan marked out and not just improvise the whole thing. And John said, narrow it down to 7, not 14, which was a good idea. And a poll finds that Paul and George are not too keen about being on the roof, while Ringo and John want to do it there. And then they come up with a list of possible songs, and they are Don't Let Me Down, Get Back, I Got a Feeling, Two of Us, All I Want Is You, Teddy Boy, One After 909, All Things Must Pass, Dig It, Let It Be, and The Long and Winding Road. And then George mentions doing an album. So George Harrison was talking to John and Yoko about doing an album all his own. And John agreed, saying that they could do a Beatles album and then a solo album. And George said it would be nice if they could do separate things as well. So that would have been neat if they had all agreed to that and still remained a band. And they may never have broken up if that had been the case. And John said, you can have an outlet for any mode you want. So I guess that was the beginnings of the All Things Must Pass idea. Day 21 is the Rooftop Concert. Well, everyone's bustling, putting 5 cameras up on the rooftop and one across the street at the rooftop level. 3 cameras are on the ground to catch the street levels. In the basement, George Martin and Glenn are ready to do the recordings of the live performance, and they get to see what's going on with a closed-circuit TV camera. The Beatles are meeting in a downstairs room. I guess everyone was feeling a bit nervous and on edge for the big day. I can't believe there were still doubts about doing the rooftop concert, especially since everything was set up already. I have a fear of heights, so the rooftop would have made my legs feel wobbly. I know that, just looking at it. The group begins with Get Back, and everyone on the street is looking up like, what's going on? The film gives you a 3-way view and a 2-way view with different camera angles, so at times your eyes are all over the place trying to see everything that there is to see. Once the group starts playing, all the nerves are gone. Paul, who said he was nervous about live performing after not doing it for 3 years, shows no nerves at all. George and Ringo look relaxed, and John is bobbing his head to the music, feeling it. And John handles his solo guitar parts with ease. It's fun to see the crowds going to the roofs across from the Apple studio. And then they were interviewing old and young people. Everyone is happy that they are performing. Well, almost everyone. An older gentleman gave a great quote. I reckon they gave a bit of life to London, he said. He liked their music, and it was very nice indeed. He should have got an autographed album for that. Next, they performed Don't Let Me Down. Now it's John's turn to do some main vocals. John is relaxed and gives great emotion to the song. Someone on the street complained about the sound being too loud. He felt it was disrupting all the business in the area. Of course, there's one in every crowd. John forgets some of the lyrics and just makes up some words that aren't real. I think John felt it was the hardest song to sing because he hardly gets a break when singing it. And this is the part where the police are called to do something about it. Next song that they did is I Got a Feeling. The police get to the ground floor to say they have 30 complaints in a half hour, but their story keeps changing like, oh, we got 30 complaints in a short amount of time or in a few minutes' time, so they're just not too happy to have to be there. The policeman said that they need to turn it down now or they'll start to arrest people. And this performance of I Got a Feeling appears on the album Let It Be. So Billy's playing in the corner, really complimenting the band. And then there's a search for Derek Taylor to figure out what they're going to do about all this loud noise on the rooftop. The next song that they do is One After 909. And you could tell this song is a favorite of the band. It was one of their early songs, so it probably brings back great memories. And this song on their live performance ends up on the album too, so they're really doing well. And George and John let it rip with their guitar playing, and John ends it with a snippet of Oh Danny Boy, and then he exhales out a breath. I love it. Then it's Mal and the police. Mal states he'll turn off the PA system so the street won't be able to hear it. The band launches into another song, I Dig a Pony, not realizing what's going on. And John had an assistant put the lyrics where he could see them since there's so many words to the song. And I Got a Feeling is played again. And then a sergeant goes up to see what's happening because there's already a few policemen up on the rooftop. Get Back is the next song that is done, and this begins with Mal turning down George's amp. But George didn't like that, so he turned it back up. And John ends it by saying, on behalf of the group and myself, I hope we pass the audition, which draws a big laugh from the crowd. The Beatles are buzzing after that incredible performance, and they have every reason to be, so they conquered their fears and went out there and gave them their best, as they always have. The group then listens to the song's recording, and everyone's all smiles because they have captured something special. They're supposed to record more stuff for the album that day, but who really wanted to do that after the performances they gave on the roof? They agreed to meet the next day because it'll take a while to get the equipment down, and that's another good reason. Well, Peter Jackson gave the Beatle fan a once-in-a-lifetime experience. He got to hang out with the Beatles, and we saw them as they dealt with their growing difficulties being in a band together. We saw some good times of the Beatles laughing and singing old rock tunes and just having fun. We saw the stress of trying to get out an album when all the songs hadn't been written yet, and the difficulties of deciding where to perform their live show, going through numerous options. We saw George leave as if he was only going to go to lunch, and how that rattled the band. We got to be on the rooftop with the band as they played, as if they hadn't been away from live performances for 3 years. They captivated the crowd as they always did when they got together. Now we have the anticipation of the group when they get on Blu-ray and DVD. And let us hope that more material like this materializes so that we'll continue the thrill of being a Beatle fan. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, if you could give a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't already, that would be great. And I hope everyone's been having a good day, and tune in again soon for more of the Beatles Forever. Thank you. Bye.